That's just my sister. She helps with stuff. The words hit me like a physical blow as I stood in the atrium of Duke University's medical school, watching my sister Melissa gesture dismissively at me while talking to her future in-laws. I'm actually on full scholarship. The lie hung in the air between us, heavy and deliberate, while her fiancé's parents nodded approvingly at their daughter-in-law-to-be. I had driven 6 hours to Durham, North Carolina to watch my sister graduate from medical school, the medical school whose $280,000 in student loans I had co-signed 4 years ago, destroying my own credit score in the process. I had sacrificed my financial security for this moment. And she had just erased me from the narrative of her own success, presenting herself as self-made while reducing me to household staff. I stood there for exactly 3 minutes, watching her laugh with her fiancé's family, and then I walked out of the atrium, pulled out my phone, opened my loan servicer app, and made a decision that would change everything. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this story, because what happens next will absolutely destroy you. My name is Amanda Chen. I'm someone who learned that sacrifice isn't noble when it's demanded by someone who doesn't value it. I grew up with my sister Melissa in a middle-class household in suburban Ohio. My parents were good people, hardworking, generous, supportive. But they weren't wealthy. My father was a high school teacher. My mother was a nurse. They made decent money, but not pay for medical school money. Melissa was brilliant. She maintained a 4.0 GPA throughout high school and college. She scored a 520 on her MCAT, top percentile. She got into Duke University School of Medicine, one of the top medical schools in the country. She was going to be a doctor. The problem was tuition. Duke's medical school costs approximately $70,000 per year. Federal student loans could cover most of that, but Melissa needed a cosigner. Federal loans for medical school require additional cosigners because they're unsubsidized and expensive. My parents didn't qualify, their credit scores weren't strong enough, and they had existing debt. So they asked me. I was 24 years old at the time. I had graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a degree in business administration. I was working as a project manager for a pharmaceutical company in Cleveland, making $55,000 a year. I had paid off my own car, was renting an apartment, and had a decent credit score of 760. Amanda, we hate to ask, my mother said during a family dinner one Sunday. But Melissa's loan approval requires a cosigner with good credit. Would you be willing to cosign for her? Just on some of the loans. Not all of them. I loved my sister. I was proud of her. The idea of her becoming a doctor, of her accomplishing something so significant while I helped make it possible, it felt noble. It felt like the right thing to do. Of course, I said without hesitation. I'll cosign. I didn't understand what that meant at the time. Cosigning a student loan means you are legally responsible for the debt if the primary borrower doesn't pay. It means the debt shows up on your credit report. It means every penny of that $280,000 counts against your debt-to-income ratio when you try to get your own mortgage, car loan, or credit card. It means your financial future is now tied to your sister's ability and willingness to pay her loans. I co-signed $280,000 in loans. 4 separate loans, each requiring my signature, each one a promise that if Melissa didn't pay, I would be legally obligated to pay on her behalf. I understood the basic concept, but I didn't fully grasp what it would mean for my life. I was young. I was proud of my sister. I believed in her potential. And I believed that helping her achieve her dreams was what family did. I signed the documents without hesitation or second thoughts. That was my mistake. Melissa thrived in medical school. She was always a brilliant student, and medical school was where she came alive. She told me about exciting cases, about connections with professors, about her plans to specialize in oncology. She talked about her future like it was a done deal, which, financially, it was. Her debt was my responsibility if she defaulted. But I wasn't worried about her defaulting. She was going to be a doctor. She would make 6 figures. She would be fine. During those 4 years, my life changed significantly. I couldn't qualify for a mortgage because the $280,000 in co-signed loans made me appear too financially risky. A real estate agent literally told me, "You have too much debt for your income level. You'll need to wait until your sister's loans are paid off." I couldn't get a car loan at a good interest rate. I was approved for a car, but the interest rate was 7.2% instead of the 4.5% I would have qualified for without the co-signed debt. I couldn't get a credit card increase. My bank rejected my application for additional credit because of the debt-to-income ratio. My life was on hold while my sister got her medical degree. But I told myself it was worth it. She was going to be a doctor. And when she started making doctor money, she could pay off her loans, and my financial life would normalize. I believed that story right up until her graduation day. The Duke Medical School graduation ceremony was on a Saturday in May. The atrium was packed with proud families, excited students, and future physicians. Melissa looked beautiful in her white coat and graduation regalia. She found our parents in the crowd and hugged them. She found me and hugged me too. "Thank you for being here," she said, and I hugged her back, so proud I could burst. 30 minutes later, I was standing near the refreshment table when Melissa approached with a handsome man in a tailored suit and an older couple who had to be his parents. "Mom, Dad, this is the family I mentioned," Melissa said, and the man introduced himself as Thomas and his parents as Margaret and David. "Congratulations on graduating," Margaret said warmly. "4 years of medical school is quite an accomplishment. How did you manage the finances?" And then Melissa said it, "I'm actually on full scholarship. Most of the costs were covered by Duke's financial aid package." It was a lie. I knew it was a lie. She wasn't on full scholarship. She had gotten scholarships and grants that covered maybe 30% of her costs. The rest was loans. My co-signed loans. "That's wonderful," Margaret said. "Not many students manage full scholarships to medical school." "Well, I had help," Melissa said, and she pointed at me. "That's just my sister. She helps with stuff." "Just my sister. She helps with stuff." Not, "This is my sister Amanda, who co-signed $280,000 in loans to make this possible." Not, "This is Amanda, who destroyed her own credit score to help me." Not, "My sister sacrificed her financial future so I could be here." Just my sister. She helps with stuff. Like I was housekeeping or something. Like I was hired help. Like I was beneath notice. I felt something break inside me in that moment. Not anger, initially. Just a clear recognition that my sister did not value what I had done. She did not see my sacrifice as something significant. She saw it as something I did for her, like she deserved it, like it was my job to help with her stuff. I stood there for 3 more minutes, watching her laugh with Thomas and his parents, watching them congratulate her on her scholarship, watching her bask in their admiration for her self-sufficiency and hard work. Then I excused myself and walked out of the atrium. I sat in my car in the Duke parking lot for 20 minutes, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my student loan servicer app with shaking hands. I had been paying the minimum on Melissa's loans, $280 a month, which barely covered interest. The loans were in her name as the primary borrower, but I was the co-signer. That meant I had options I hadn't considered until that moment. I scrolled through the app's menu, looking for something, anything, that would give me control over the narrative of my own life again. I found what I was looking for: transfer full financial responsibility to primary borrower. I stared at that option for a long moment. Clicking it would mean my sister would have to figure out her own debt. It would mean no more courtesy letters to me from the loan servicer. It would mean my credit score would finally be freed from the burden I'd voluntarily taken on. It would mean taking back control of my financial future. It would also mean potentially damaging my relationship with my sister permanently. But standing there in that parking lot, replaying the moment she dismissed me as the help, I realized something: my relationship with my sister was already damaged. She had damaged it when she chose to erase my sacrifice from the narrative of her own success. She had damaged it when she reduced 4 years of financial sacrifice to "helps with stuff." She had damaged it by lying to Thomas's family about her situation, presenting herself as self-made when she had stood on my shoulders to reach where she was. I clicked on the option. The app asked me to confirm. By clicking Request, you are notifying the loan servicer that you are removing yourself as a co-signer and transferring all financial responsibility to the primary borrower. This will result in a request for the primary borrower to provide new authorization. If the primary borrower does not authorize the transfer, the loan will be transferred to Direct Loans. Do you wish to proceed? I took a deep breath and clicked Request. A screen appeared: Request approved. Your status as co-signer has been removed from all co-signed federal student loans. The primary borrower has 30 days to authorize the transfer. If authorization is not received, the loans will be converted to direct federal loans. You will receive written confirmation of this change. I saved a screenshot of that screen. I don't know why, maybe because I knew I'd need proof that I'd really done it, that this moment was real. I took the screenshot and I stared at it for several minutes. Then I called Melissa. She answered on the second ring, still cheerful from her graduation celebration. "Hi. Are you coming back to the reception? Thomas wants you to meet some more family." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not coming back." "What? Why? You drove all this way." "I just removed myself as co-signer from your student loans. All of them. Every single loan I put my name on 4 years ago. You have 30 days to authorize the transfer to direct federal loans, or the servicer will automatically convert them. Either way, as of about 5 minutes ago, that debt is officially and completely yours." Melissa called back 12 times in the next hour. My mother called. My father called. My mother left a voicemail: "Amanda, please don't do this. You don't understand. Melissa panicked. She was just nervous about, I didn't listen to the rest. I drove home to Cleveland and didn't answer any calls for 3 days. By the 4th day, the loan servicer had sent me written confirmation that my cosigner status had been removed. Melissa had not authorized the transfer within the required timeframe, so the loans were being converted to federal direct loans in her name only. She was now solely responsible for $280,000 in student debt. The medical school job market was competitive. She couldn't start her residency immediately, she had to apply, interview, match. During that time, the loans would be in deferment, but interest would accrue. Melissa didn't contact me for 6 months. Then, one day, I got a letter. Handwritten. From her. Amanda, I'm so sorry. I was embarrassed about needing help. Thomas comes from money, his family is very wealthy, and I was trying to impress them. I was trying to seem independent and successful. Instead, I was cruel to the person who actually made my success possible. I'm writing to ask for your forgiveness. I'm working on paying off my loans. I've started my residency in oncology. I'm making $70,000 a year as a resident, and I'm putting a significant portion toward my student debt. I know I can't undo what I said or how I made you feel. But I hope that over time, you'll be willing to rebuild our relationship. You're my sister, and I love you. I kept that letter. But I didn't respond for a year. A year after I removed myself as cosigner, I applied for a mortgage. My credit score had rebounded significantly once the cosigned debt was removed from my report. I qualified for a $280,000 mortgage at a 3.8% interest rate. I bought a house in Cleveland. The same year, Melissa completed her first year of residency and had paid down her student loans to $310,000 through aggressive monthly payments of $2,500. 2 years later, she paid them off completely. She'd been making resident salary, eventually increasing to $80,000 as she progressed through her residency, and she'd been ferocious about tackling her debt. She called me when she made the final payment. I'm done, she said. Completely debt-free. And I owe it all to you, because I had to face the reality of owing this money completely on my own. I had to take responsibility. And I did. I'm glad, I said, and I meant it. I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm so sorry for what I said at my graduation. It was cruel and stupid and ungrateful. You sacrificed so much, and I treated it like it meant nothing. I've spent the last 3 years thinking about that moment, about how I made you feel, and I hate myself for it. I know, I said. Do you forgive me? I'm working on it, I said honestly. We slowly rebuilt our relationship. It took time. But we did it. What I learned from this experience is that sacrifice without respect is just servitude. My sister didn't ask me to co-sign her loans because she valued my help, she asked because she needed my credit score and my financial security. And when she no longer needed those things, she erased me from the narrative of her success. Removing myself as co-signer wasn't about punishing her. It was about protecting myself. It was about refusing to be treated as invisible help. It was about making her take responsibility for her own debt, rather than allowing her to pretend it didn't exist. Did it damage our relationship? Yes, temporarily. But it also forced her to grow up. It forced her to acknowledge what I'd done. And ultimately, it made our relationship stronger because it was built on honesty instead of unspoken resentment. My name is Amanda Chen. I'm a homeowner, a successful project manager, and someone who learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling them. I'm also someone who understands that family isn't just about unconditional support, it's about mutual respect and honesty. When my sister introduced me as the help at her graduation, I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't stand there and explain to Thomas's family what I had sacrificed. I didn't demand recognition or validation or gratitude. I just let her have her moment, her lie, her carefully constructed narrative of self-made success. Then I walked out of that atrium, got in my car, and transferred the debt. In that single moment, removing myself as co-signer, giving the loan servicer request, sending that phone call, I took back my power. I stopped being invisible help. I stopped being the person whose contributions went unacknowledged. I stopped enabling my sister to treat me as beneath her notice. Did it hurt? Yes. Did it create conflict? Absolutely. Did my family blame me for years? They did. But I don't regret it for a single moment. Because here's what happened after: my sister had to face the reality that her success, while real, and earned through her own hard work and intelligence, had been made possible by my sacrifice. She had to confront the fact that she'd been ungrateful and cruel to the person who helped her most. She had to grow up and take responsibility for her own life, literally and figuratively. And I got my financial freedom back. I got my house. I got my life back. So when people ask me if I regret co-signing my sister's student loans, my answer is complicated. I don't regret wanting to help her achieve her dreams. But I absolutely regret not setting boundaries. I regret not making it clear that my help came with an expectation of respect. I regret teaching my sister that she could treat me as invisible help without consequences. Transferring that debt was the best decision I ever made, not because I wanted to hurt my sister, but because I needed to protect myself and my own future. My sister is now a successful oncologist. She paid off her $280,000 plus in student debt through hard work and dedication. She apologized to me, genuinely and deeply. And we have a relationship now that is built on honesty and mutual respect rather than resentment and invisible labor. And I'm the homeowner in Cleveland, living the life I couldn't have lived if I'd remained trapped by that co-signed debt. That's exactly how it should be.